The provisional votes for the sheriff candidates are starting to be counted just after 5:01, and checking the time right now, it could get started at any moment. The Democratic National Convention is coming to a close, and the week is leaving Florida Democrats confident about where the state stands going into the November election. It's been a really exciting night here at the Heartwood Soundstage. It's especially been exciting for Sheriff candidate Chad Scott, who joins me now. Crews are burning around tree bases with white paint that indicate active woodpecker cavities. This is in order to clear debris from the area to prevent high flames from catching onto tree sap. Members of the Florida Democratic Party are wearing pink on day 3 of the Democratic National Convention in support of abortion rights. I'm currently on County Road 484 east of Camden Farms, and I'm going to step away so you can see a tree that has fallen down and covered almost the entire road. It all starts here with a single piece of wood that in a matter of just 10 minutes will ultimately end up here as part of one of the 25 beds that will be built and delivered to families in the Gainesville community. I'm here in Keaton Beach, where you can see behind me the destruction and damage that Hurricane Helene left behind. The theme for day 2 of the Democratic National Convention is a bold vision for America's future. With that future comes a new generation with lots of first-time voters, Generation Z.
Gen Z is one of the most progressive generations that we've seen, but Gen Z has not voted. So we need to make our voices heard and make elected officials realize that they are accountable to us and that we are going to be the change we wish to see.
People aged 12 to 27 are considered Generation Z. Many in this cohort will be eligible to vote in November for the first time.
And I think young voters were truly looking for a candidate that was focused on the future, that was focused on issues that were important to them, and that gave them that voice to be able to express it. And Vice President Harris, I think, has truly appreciated that and has used that as a way for her to connect to Gen Z voters.
A new Pew Research poll shows 57% of registered voters ages 18 to 29 would vote for Vice President Harris. This is a major turnaround from an earlier poll from CNN that had President Joe Biden trailing former President Donald Trump by 11 points among voters under 35. Party insiders say bumping a younger Harris to the top of the ticket has excited youth voters.
Getting that viral moment has been important for us to be able to convey that message to voters and make sure that people understand what's really going on in this election.
The rise of social media among younger voters is changing the way some get their news.
They're starting to send me things from the news, and they're watching the news, and they're keeping up, and I think that's really exciting.
Florida DNC delegates and elected officials hope this renewed interest translates to votes on Election Day from one of the most historically loyal voting groups in the Democrats' coalition, young voters. Florida Delegate Charles Horowitz says that there are 25,000 new volunteers for the party in Florida. Many of those volunteers are Gen Z who have not voted before. He thinks this is because most of them have now recognized their own power. Reporting from the floor at the DNC in Chicago, Charlize Ramos, WUFT News. A somber setting, surrounded by a sea of grass. An eternal resting place with a stone protruding from the earth. On it, letters make words.
I love to tell stories.
And words paint a picture.
Each stone tells a story.
But time takes its toll, and weather wears them away. Their stories fade from memory.
I needed to fix this situation.
One man honors those.
I can tell this amazing story from long ago that nobody knows.
Who fought for us.
Start to see it come together.
By giving them the respect they deserve.
When I saw the condition of the stones for the men and women who served our country, and many of them who offered the ultimate sacrifice for love of country, I was angered.
Tampa resident Andrew Loomish spends his time cleaning headstones and celebrating the lives of those who came before us.
I can tell their stories too, and it's extremely fulfilling to be able to do that. It's unlike anything else.
With every stone he restores, Loomish keeps another legacy alive.
The reason I do what it is that I do is it's a tribute to Chris.
Chris, a colleague turned confidant. Chris Scala survived war, but the veteran lost his life to the struggles he faced after returning home.
Chris had taken his life. He took his life the day after we spoke about the things he was planning to do for his weekend.
Through Chris's memory, Andrew finds inspiration to help others, turning pain into purpose.
I do feel pride, but it's not necessarily for me. It's because I'm able to tell a story about their lives, and a compelling story about their lives.
His work resonates with the living.
That's what really gets me, is the impact that it has on people.
And he's seen that impact firsthand through Evelyn Wilson.
He gives new meaning to the phrase gone but not forgotten.
The two met by chance while Loomish was restoring her family member's headstone.
Here we have 6 generations of women right here in this one section.
Even though they'd never met before, Loomish's work created a connection.
I saw it as Andrew was bringing the past back to life, one headstone at a time.
Through his dedication, he serves the living and the dead.
I used to come here with my mom and my grandma, so I see us all standing here.
6 generations joined in one plot, not forgotten.
This is the thing that nourishes my soul.
His work serves as a reminder that every headstone is a story waiting to be told and a legacy ready to be remembered. In Tampa, Charlize Ramos, WUFT News. When you take a step into Christopher Custer's studio, his passion for cars is obvious.
From comic books to action figures to toy cars.
Collecting Hot Wheels, his hobby,
Always been around cars my whole life.
but it's his talent you can't see that turns heads. The stroke of a brush,
Watercolors can be a little tricky sometimes.
a dip in the water, a variety of colors.
Layer by layer.
Christopher glides his brush's bristles to paint the scene of a New England escape.
The ability to have a creative outlet has really changed my life.
All of his pieces are unique, not because of the final product, but because of how he paints them.
I was a average normal human before I got hurt.
At 21, his life was changed.
I ran down and jumped in the water and I hit my head on the bottom and was instantly paralyzed.
The first few years were the toughest.
I was just another handicapped person with no real purpose.
Forcing him to find a different way to express himself.
A friend of mine that was a nurse, and she had seen people paint and draw before with their mouth. She showed me, and she bought me my first set of paints and brushes, and my first painting was horrible.
Custer says the colors, the concentration, the challenge changed his life.
I find that it's an amazing way to be able to express myself and to also escape my physical bounds.
He paints everything from still life and landscapes to cartoons and gnomes.
Depending on what kind of mood I'm in, or what I've seen or what has stimulated me from the outside world, is basically where I'll go with a painting that I'm working on at that time.
His finished art hangs proudly in the home he and his caretaker, Teresa Moore, share. A space to create and showcase his masterpieces.
His focus is right there. He's not thinking about how he feels or what hurts or his spasms.
His creativity spurs his resiliency.
He has overcome so much and been successful at it. It's just, you look at it and think, wow, if he could do that, people can do anything.
But his art only tells part of the story.
I think that people don't see the childness in him, the childlike texture of his personality.
That playful spirit comes to life in his work and in his studio.
I have been a kid my whole entire life.
Surrounded by the product of his imagination, each stroke of paint tells his story on a canvas.
When I'm creating and when I'm painting, I sort of forget about everything else that's going on in the world and just immerse myself in whatever I'm doing at the time.
His creativity shapes his world with these walls, one brushstroke at a time. In Tarpon Springs, Charlize Ramos, WUFT News.